Do you like wrestling? Do you ever watch wrestling?
No. Nope.
And The Rock said, whoa, 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 whoa. Because I'm still standing here, custom made, brother. Woo! And I mean custom made, from the alligators to the Ole Cassini right here, Ric Flair. There's only one.
We're not the kind of guys that say, we told you so, but we told you so.
Yeah, no thank you from the Young Bucks.
Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman.
You know who I am.
What's up, gang? Welcome to another episode of Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman, the podcast that breaks down the biggest stories in and out of the ring. I am your host. My name is Mike Wellman. Thank you for hitting that play button. We appreciate you here, as always. This is Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. As I said, we are a podcast that brings you the biggest stories in and out of the ring. This is episode 67 of Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman, and I am joined, as always, by the purveyor of world-class wrestling opinions, the one, the only, wrestling fan Kris, a.k.a. the notorious KRS. What's up, Kris?
What's going on, Mike? I think on this day, I see clearly that AEW got a little legendary.
AEW has gotten legendary, for sure. We are going to talk on this episode about Adam Copeland in AEW. That's right, folks. Tony Khan sees clearly. I see clearly in my dreams about Tony Khan. We are going to talk about Edge going to AEW on this episode of the pod. We're also going to talk a little bit about WrestleDream. You know, Kris, you could have helped me out there with that bit in the beginning.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just daydreaming.
I think you were having a wrestle daydream.
I wasn't wrestle dreaming. I was daydreaming. Yeah.
During the cold open bit that we tried to do. But yes, we're going to talk about WrestleDream, that amazing match between Bryan Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. We're also going to talk about Jade Cargill going to WWE. And before we get out of here, the war comes to Tuesdays. That's right, folks. The war is back on WWE, NXT, AEW. John Cena has been enlisted to fight in this war. Cody Rhodes has been enlisted. Paul Heyman, Adam Copeland, Luchasaurus. We have NXT and AEW Dynamite going head-to-head this coming Tuesday. So we're just going to talk about that a little bit. We also might get into a little bit of NXT television that I actually watched. I watched No Mercy a few weeks ago at this point. So
I'm impressed.
We'll see what we have time for. Nice little episode planned here. We'll see if we have time. But yes, before we go any farther,
I'm on everything.
That's right. We need you to be kind, like, subscribe, and share. Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. You can find the podcast that breaks down the biggest stories in and out of the ring on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. You already know. We have a Patreon. Check it out if you feel inclined to get gang affiliated. You can find us on social media, facebook.com/WatchWrestlingPod. We are Watch Wrestling Podcast on Instagram. You don't want to miss those reels of the main event flying through hula hoops. We are on X @WWrestlingPod. Like I said, folks, like, subscribe, and share. Check out the podcast that breaks down the biggest stories in and out of the ring. Check out what the game's been missing.
Oh, yes.
And we won't have any problems. All right, Kris. So I'll never long for what might have been. Adam Copeland will never long for what might have been in WWE because Adam Copeland is #all elite. He has not been defeated and brought down. He has not dropped to his knees when hope ran out, but the time has come to change his ways and to change his name because he doesn't own the rights to the name Edge, which is why, like I mentioned, Adam Copeland is hashtag all elite. What do you think of Edge going to AEW?
I mean, this is pretty massive for me. I am very excited. I mean, just Edge being there is great because it's so different. I mean, he's definitely the most WWE of all WWE guys. I mean, Moxley and Jericho, sure, but they were, Jericho was all around the world. Moxley was all around the indies, so these guys kind of built their names, but Edge seems just like a guy born or raised and bred from the WWE for all these years. He comes back dramatically, has a pretty good run after his retirement, and now he hops over to do some work with presumably Christian, who's maybe one of the best wrestlers around right now, one of the best characters. So it's very exciting. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm so glad they weren't all buddy right off the top. So everything so far has been a hit with Edge, with Adam Copeland. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think that his debut was awesome. The only tiny nitpicking criticism, which you can't even really, you can't really expect anything else, is just the fact that they put like a cutscene video in before a run-in. It's like usually if you're going to have a cutscene video, you're just kind of coming out. It's not necessarily to save somebody. It's kind of like when Jeff Hardy did like the hand pumps when he debuted and came out in AEW. It's like you're making a save to save somebody. But anyway, yeah, the debut I thought was awesome. I liked the video of Adam Copeland walking around, and then he talked about it afterward at the press conference after WrestleDream in Seattle, that he basically just texted Darby Allin and him and Darby Allin just drove around Seattle, and they were hanging out of the back of a truck and filming all this stuff with a muscle car. And then the video package itself, though, the debut I thought was good because we all knew it was going to happen, right? Once they announced that Christian Cage versus Darby Allin for the TNT title is the main event of WrestleDream, it's like, this is a card that has Bryan Danielson on it. This is a card that has Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, right? And it's like, you're putting the TNT title, and MJF, the world champion, also on the card, and which we'll talk about in a minute or two, or in a few minutes. But the TNT championship headlining the card with Christian and Darby. So it's just, you just know that the correlation to Christian here, we're getting this, Adam Copeland debut, or at least we wanted to see it, right? So then, the end of the match, I thought this was a really good match to end the show with, because you're thinking, it's the TNT championship. We've already seen a great card. How can you really cap off this great card? And then they kind of go all over the place. They pull up the ring padding. It's just, they're destroying Darby Allin.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
And then Sting comes out, and you're like, Sting? I thought Edge was coming out. Where's Edge? Why is Sting here? For a second, I thought, like, why is Sting coming out, So then they're beating on Sting. He's about to get a concerto. Lights go out. Crowd goes nuts, Because if you think about it, they didn't tell you had no storyline reason to expect Edge. There were no little Easter eggs on the TV show, right? There were no, like, on this day, I see clearly. I'll see clearly on Saturday. Like, nobody said any Edge comments. Like, before CM Punk debuted, Kenny Omega was wearing a shirt that said Cookie Monster, on TV. So the lights go out, and everybody starts cheering, like, as if they just knew. So then we get the video. And then the car in the video drives down the road, and on the road, it's spray-painted Rated R. Now you can hear the crowd. Now they know exactly who this is. Not that you didn't already. But then we get the Metalingus music from Alter Bridge playing, the smoke coming up. Adam Copeland comes out with his signature entrance, and he gets in the ring, and he and Christian kind of don't, reunite right away. But huge debut for Edge at WrestleDream. Very positive post-show interview at the press conference there. He seems very excited to be in AEW. And this is a little bit of deja vu, right? The WWE veteran, or in general, wrestling world veteran, coming to AEW with Tony Khan sitting next to them.
Yeah. Excited
to help the younger talent. But it did seem fresh and new in its own way, because I don't think Edge has any sort of bad reputation. And I think that when he is this excited to help the younger talent, I think that he at least intends on doing that, right?
I think so. And I think he has. I really do believe it for some reason. Maybe I'm just a mark, but I do believe him when he says stuff like that. He's been around long enough. I do. Yeah, he seems that he has a great reputation. I think he really wants to do that. He really wants to do something fresh, and that includes putting younger guys over, or just like being in programs with younger guys, and helping them elevate.
And this is a huge, huge get for AEW because there are so few of these guys available. These guys who have the following of being a top star in wrestling, whether it was WWE or anywhere else. And frankly, there wasn't anywhere else for the past 20-something years, right? So there's, like I said, so few of these guys. I mean, there was Bryan Danielson, there was Moxley, there was Jericho, Punk, now Edge. Like I said, Edge might be the last guy of this generation that's available to come in and that can really change the direction of your program, right?
Oh yeah, he has like. I don't think it's gonna do like Punk's following was probably more like, I don't know if it was bigger than Edge's, but I feel like they'd follow him wherever. Maybe Edge will too, but Edge definitely has that type of following that could actually bring people over to watch the show. Like that's the kind of superstar he is. That's the kind of fan base he has. So it's huge. It's one of the biggest they've ever done.
Yeah, and just the general positivity behind it all, I think, really lifted AEW out of a weird place they were in, because the shows weren't bad ever, really. AEW's shows were not ever bad. There was a period where Dynamite people were kind of saying, where are we going with some of this stuff? But once Collision kicked off, basically that show has gotten great reviews since it started, even on the weeks where it didn't have like high viewership, which is another thing people talk about. But I thought almost every episode of Collision I've watched was good. Even the one like right after Punk got fired and people were saying like, what is this, a luchador? What is this, Lucha Underground? Like that was a good episode in my opinion too. So they've never had a break in the quality of the shows, but just the PR they were getting, especially from Punk. When Punk has been fired from AEW. So there was kind of this whole, like, half the people are saying, you got to fire him. He's causing drama. He's sucking all the oxygen out of the company. The other people, once he gets fired, kind of say, you just fired your best guy. What are you doing? You're going down the tubes now. So there was this whole, the wrong kind of attention, right, with Punk in general. So then, you've got all these big shows coming up, right? You had All Out, Grand Slam, now WrestleDream, and I really think that the moment of Edge's debut really helped AEW, and then the positivity afterwards. And sometimes as a wrestling fan, you need to be reminded of certain things, and just like when Edge first came back to WWE, it was like we got reminded about how awesome this guy is, and he hasn't even wrestled yet in AEW.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, and back to what you're saying too. I think with Edge coming in, he's not going to have. I'm not saying he's not going to get upset, and he might actually. Maybe he will be a little more focused on like, I want this to go my way, or maybe not put himself over, but he might have different opinions than maybe Tony Khan or any bookers. But he's not going to go and disrupt backstage, and like push monitors over and that kind of thing. So it's pretty positive all around because. We know he's not going to do that, presumably, and it's great to see him there. And you're right; it just pulls us out of the doldrums of like we didn't really know what was going on. A lot of some of those biggest shows of the year got interrupted by outside drama, negative feelings with the company. So at least this is positive. We can go through, and I mean, maybe with the Warner Brothers or Max thing coming, I mean, it's gonna get people to buy. If it's on a streaming service, I'm definitely gonna I'm definitely gonna spend more money on Max if I have to get AEW streaming, all because of Edge. Yeah.
So I think they are going to need a little bit more than just Edge to get us all to watch. I mean, if they're going to do more content than they already put on, they're going to need more than just Edge. But yeah, it just seems like even bigger than a breath of fresh air for AEW because. We'll see if Edge ends up getting injured in AEW. Because it does tend to happen to people when they come to AEW. These slightly older-ish type guys tend to get injured in AEW. We'll see. If he doesn't get injured, I think the sky is the limit. You can literally, I mean, he said it in his promo on Dynamite. You could put the AEW championship on him.
Yeah.
Granted, not forever, but an Edge AEW title win is not out of the question in my mind.
No, I would say not anytime soon, but yeah, that could happen, and I don't think anyone would mind it. They'd be all for it.
Yeah, so he is the rated R superstar in AEW because he's allowed to use that catchphrase. So the rated R superstar, Adam Copeland, is in AEW, and of course, he is going to be connected in a story with the best thing in wrestling right now, Christian Cage, right? Are you there? Did I drop you? Yeah. Kris is gone. Fuck. Oh, Jesus. Yes, the rated R superstar is hashtag all elite because Adam Copeland is allowed to use the name rated R superstar. So that part of his gimmick will still be making it to AEW.
That's pretty crazy. I always wonder why that would happen, what they can and can't use.
Well, if you think about it, if they wanted to lock everything down, they'd have to copyright almost every catchphrase on demand.
That's true. Good point,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know who's got a lot of catchphrases? Is that Jay White. I mean, they'd have to copyright a lot. You have to trademark a lot to get all his catchphrases that he said the other week. But yeah, we'll get to that a little bit too. But yeah, so Adam Copeland, I think is going to be a great addition to AEW. When I hear him say that he wants to wrestle people like Kenny Omega, Powerhouse Hobbs, MJF, I say yes, bring it on. Obviously, there is a whole year plus worth of matches he could do with Christian, against Christian, teaming with Christian, against, like he said in his promo on Dynamite, the Young Bucks, FTR, David and Daniel.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think the best way to do it, I think, is, get him in this feud with Christian right now. Not necessarily that they have to wrestle each other, but kind of like play this out for a little bit. Maybe they move apart from each other for a little while, and then they eventually come together, and we can get so much time out of that way before Edge even goes for any sort of single title, or at least world championship, And I think everyone will be okay with that. I certainly would. So a lot of possibilities.
And his mission statement promo on Dynamite I thought was great. He talks about how he could have retired, after, he didn't talk about it, but it was after his match with Sheamus on SmackDown recently in Toronto. And then he calls out Uncle Jay, who we know as Christian Cage. So he calls out Christian Cage, who takes his sweet time coming out to the ring. He stands there with, as Adam Copeland said, his lips pursed. And I'm thinking to myself, this could be a moment where if you did want to dump this whole Christian, like if you just wanted to pivot to Edge and Christian being a team, you could do that in this moment. I didn't think it was going to happen. I was curious what was going to happen. But yeah, if you wanted to, they could have hugged. And then Christian's like, okay, fine, I'm a good guy again. You could have. It could have happened.
Yeah.
But no, that's not what we got. Christian goes in to give Adam a hug, and he says, Adam Copeland says, let's team. It's time for us to have another run, our last run together, which gave me goosebumps, folks. The idea of Edge and Christian teaming up again to take on the Young Bucks and FTR, frankly, gave me goosebumps, okay? This is something this is more than a WrestleDream. This is like a wrestle... This is more than a WrestleDream. This is like a wrestle. But yeah, so Christian comes in for the hug, and he says, go fuck yourself, and he leaves. Which, the first thing gave me goosebumps, the concept of Edge and Christian teaming up, and then he goes in for the hug, and when he says, go fuck yourself, it was even better than the idea of Edge and Christian teaming up against the Young Bucks. I thought it was amazing.
It really did keep with the awesomeness that Christian is doing right now. So that was actually a good... I like that more. Yeah, it would have been great if he just was like, fine, I'm a good guy, we're a tag team, let's do this. But no, it really kept Christian Cage in this iteration going, and it's the best of his career, as we've discussed many times.
Yes, Christian Cage is the best thing in wrestling right now.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I haven't been able to figure this out, but boy, they made me do this. I frantically was Googling if Edge's father was still alive, just because I couldn't find out, and it's not me. Christian did that to me. I'm sorry.
On the dream I had, the other night when I was having this insane WrestleDream. Antonio Inoki's grandchildren were in the ring with Tony Khan, and they cut to Christian Cage backstage watching.
Yes, they did.
Just nobody had to say anything. Excalibur didn't need to tell you what was going on. It's just, these are Inoki's grandchildren. Inoki is dead. And they cut to Christian Cage just watching.
That is a good part of that dream.
So we are going to get to that next. Let's now talk about some AEW WrestleDream.
I'm not the biggest fan of sports entertainment, but that was pretty entertaining.
Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman.
Who the fuck?
So WrestleDream went down in Seattle this past Saturday. I thought this was an all-time great AEW card. This thing was entertaining from top to bottom. Every match I thought was very good, if not great. Like I said, I was having a WrestleDream. Josh Barnett was in it. Shibata was in it. Chris Statlander and Julia Hart had a good match. Swerve Strickland and Hangman were in it. Yes, this was a great card. The card, let's just start with we already talked about the main event a little bit. Christian Cage, Darby Allin. This was a great match. Anytime the wood of the ring is exposed, I'm 100% invested.
Yes. Get out the stars, because add some.
Yeah, you expose the wood, you expose some stars.
Right.
So that was a good match. And one thing that I'll say is I think AEW is even mastering the art of the cooldown match here. Because when you have all of this talent on a card, you can do back-to-back, epic match of the year candidates, and it's just too much. It's just too much for the crowd in attendance. It's too much for the people watching. You need a cooldown match. And it's not a bad spot to be in if it's intentional, right? Rather than say, we're going to put 2 dream matches back to back, and then everybody basically just picks one and says that was the great match. The other one was just the one after. It was also very good, but we couldn't. It's like having 2 great meals back to back. You're already full from the first one. Mm-hmm. So the cool down match here, it doesn't have to be people low on the card. You can do a match like the Young Bucks, versus the Guns versus the Lucha Brothers. You could do the Callis family versus Jericho and Omega and Ibushi. And if it's not their night to have the dream match, that's fine. They can have the cool down match, because we all know that the Young Bucks, the Lucha Brothers, Kenny Omega, these people can all have 5-star matches, and they will hopefully again in the future. So yeah, I do think that AEW is kind of getting better at putting these cards together where whenever the dream match happens, the next match, it's a cool down match, which is still it can be a very good match. But
yeah, I think you're right. I think they do a better job now of doing like the Callis family match, like you mentioned. I mean, obviously all those guys in that match could put on, like you said, 5-star match classics. But I think that was more about the story, So that's where I think they go. Like they go from like a dream, like wrestling technical match to like more of a story heavy match to cool down, and then go to the other dream in-ring match. I think that's very smart, and they have done a very good job doing that.
Yeah, or just a match with a lot of spots.
Yeah, yes, or the opposite, something that doesn't have to heavily be involved in a story, just something that's fun.
It could just be Matt Jackson yelling at everybody to do their spot next. So MJF defeated the Righteous at WrestleDream. I have come around on the Righteous. For those keeping track, I am now a fan of the Righteous. I am digging what Vincent is saying, man. Starting to dig what he's saying. Kind of. Maybe.
Yeah. They're impressive. I mean, yeah, I know. Even though they lost in a handicap match, but it's okay. MJF's the world champ. It's fine.
Yeah, I honestly thought that they were going to do something, a lot of possibilities, what you could have done, and have the tag team beat the one-man MJF here, because this was a handicap match. MJF had to take on the Righteous alone and defend the ROH tag team titles, which he did successfully, but he had to do so alone because Adam is injured. For real.
That's right. Yeah.
Adam is going to be injured for a while. I think.
So that injury is a work thing. That's BS. He's hurt. I don't believe that anymore. Yeah,
no, I don't think I ever believed that one, but so yeah, I'm pretty sure Adam is going to be out for a while, unfortunately. So I don't know what's going to happen to those ROH tag team titles, but MJF defeated the Righteous, and I thought it was a good match. Like I said, I am on board with the Righteous. Wherever we're going, I'm going there. Then we had a great match. Eddie Kingston, Katsuyori Shibata. Eddie Kingston, the Ring of Honor champion, defended the NJPW. Are we calling it the NJPW or just the New Japan Strong title? I don't know.
I think it's just New Japan Strong Openweight, yeah.
The New Japan Strong Openweight Championship along with the Ring of Honor World Championship. Eddie Kingston beat Shibata in a very good match. Kris Statlander defeated Julia Hart, retained the TBS title. Another good match. Kris Statlander is very underrated. You know, there's a lot of criticism with both WWE and AEW about how they book the women's division. That people will share GIFs and clips online of botches sometimes in the women's matches. But there's a lot of positives on both women's rosters. And how can you not include Kris Statlander in that? She's one of the best women's wrestlers in AEW, if not the best.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I don't have a ranking system off the top of my head here, but I would definitely put her at close to the top. Especially when you got Ben Stiller, you know, tweeting out about your Zoolander gimmick.
I mean, that's impressive, yeah.
We also had the Young Bucks, like I said earlier, the Young Bucks defeating the Guns, the Lucha Brothers, and Hook Cassidy. Is that it? Orange Hook? Red Orange? Orange Red?
Orange Hook sounds too much like a Red Hook. We can't. Maybe we can do that then.
Orange, because Taz's color is orange. Orange Hook section of Brooklyn. Is there an Orange Hook or is it just the Red Hook?
Well, now there's an Orange Hook.
Yeah, Orange Hook. I think that's actually what they're called, Orange Hook. But yeah, so the Young Bucks winning that one, they get a shot at the AEW tag team titles. They are also, right now, the Ring of Honor 6-man tag team champions with Hangman Page. That happened at Rampage Grand Slam, if you missed that one, Chris.
Oh, yeah.
So another great match that took place at WrestleDream, Swerve Strickland versus Hangman Page. On most nights, this would be the match of the night. I thought this was a main event level match. Swerve could have came out of this one with the win and then go straight into a program with MJF for the AEW Championship. That's how I saw this one. And also, Hangman comes out with a loss, not looking bad. You know, that's how I viewed this one. I thought it was a great match. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is definitely the Swerve coming out party. Even though he's always been great, I think this is really where they're getting behind him, and everyone's getting behind him. And it doesn't mean that Hangman looks bad at all. He doesn't. So I'm looking forward to what Swerve's going to do in the future. I hope he's the world champion in the near future. He deserves it, and I think it'd be great.
I mean, we are getting to a point where the question does need to be asked: who will be the next AEW world champion? Because MJF is great. He is now a babyface scumbag instead of a heel scumbag, but it's not going to last forever, you know. And do you wait until he gets stale, or do you take the belt off of him? But regardless of what AEW chooses to do, you know, the question remains: who will be the next AEW world champion? And I think Swerve Strickland is definitely up there as far as possibilities.
And I do think it's smart though to have a Swerve and any of these guys get elevated, even if they're not going to go right into a match with MJF, or even if they're not going to go into a program with him, or even if they're not going to face him at all. Because, like you said, we really don't know who's going to take the belt off MJF. We don't know where it's going. We don't know how long he's going to be the champ. So it's good to have a bunch of people who could be the champion, so we don't know, and keep that fresh, because that was a big problem with WWE, I think, over the years, is we're like, there's 3 people that are going to be the champ, and that's it. And it never changed for a long time. So it's good to have a bunch of people up in that main event level.
You know who I think should be the next champ?
Lay it on me.
Arn Anderson.
I didn't know what you were going to say, because I was like, he cannot be talking about Colton or Austin Gunn. So who is he talking about?
No, that sound effect is supposed to represent Arn Anderson on this show. The gun cocking is what it's called on my soundboard. The gun cocking.
All right, Cody.
So, what else happened at WrestleDream? Oh, Bryan Danielson defeated Zack Sabre Jr. in a classic wrestling match. This was incredible. This match was amazing. This is one of my favorite wrestling matches I've ever seen in my entire life, and that is a shoot.
Nice. It also has one of my favorite memes ever created with the Nigel McGuinness popping up from the announce table. I love that. I can't get enough of that.
This was just an incredible match. Any day of the week. Match of the night, by far. Match of the year, quite possibly. I'm trying to resist the recency bias here, but just shooting from the hip here, I would say my unofficial candidates for Match of the Year 2023 are Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay from Wrestle Kingdom, Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay from Forbidden Door, Bryan Danielson versus Ricky Starks, the strap match, which I believe was at All Out.
Oh, yeah.
Bryan Danielson versus Ricky Starks in the Texas Death Match, which was like a week later.
Oh.
And Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. I think those are my candidates for Match of the Year so far.
Pretty good list.
For sure. And this one, whew, I don't know, man. This was a great match. Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. A lot of limb work, Kris.
You know, on this show, I love limb work.
And there was a dragon screw in this match that made me get up out of my seat. Did you see this dragon screw? First of all, there were dragon screws all over this card. Was this a tribute to Inoki or the Great Muta?
Very good, very good.
I mean, if I had to guess three people, the three most influential wrestlers for the AEW roster, I would say Antonio Inoki, Keiji Muto, and the Amazing Red.
Yes.
That's the moves you see, right? Especially at WrestleDream. That's what I would have said. But no, yes, Danielson, Zack Sabre Jr., 6 stars, give it all the awards. This was incredible, worth the money by itself. Bryan Danielson, probably the greatest wrestler of all time. I'm sorry for people who disagree. I'm sorry you don't agree with the truth.
I think, you know what I need to? I just need Danielson and Okada again without him getting hurt.
Danielson and Okada, a dream match that wasn't even the best match of the night.
I know.
For sure. That was a great match as well. Like I said, it just wasn't the best on the night.
It's so crazy, yeah.
So we also got the Don Callis family, Konosuke Takeshita. Now Sammy Guevara's a part of the Don Callis family because he's going to have his own family. He's going to name his son Don Callis.
Yes, he is.
Or his daughter, Don Callis. Yes, the Don Callis family, which is growing by the day here. We've got Konosuke Takeshita, Sammy Guevara. Who else is in the Don Callis family?
Powerhouse Hobbs.
Who else was in the match?
Ospreay.
Oh, yeah, Will Ospreay. I guess he's part of the Don Callis family. But, yes, now we learn on Dynamite. Powerhouse Hobbs joining yet another faction. But this match was good. Like I said, there's some cool-down matches here. Jericho, Omega, and Ibushi teaming up. Would these be the Golden Sex Lovers if they had a team name?
That's good, yes. That's very good.
Les Golden Sex Lovers. Jericho was in Les Sex Gods. Sammy. We have the Golden Lovers, Omega, and Ibushi. Anything Ibushi is involved in is golden.
That's very good. I like that. I'm surprised they didn't do that.
It's just it would be too over the top. It would be like Jon Moxley on commentary. It's unsustainable.
We gave you that shit for free. What the fuck? We gave you that shit for free. We gave it to you on the pre-show. Take his fucking head off, you Wheeler.
Jon Moxley on commentary at WrestleDream was one of the most entertaining things I have ever watched. As a fan of entertainment, how can you not love Jon Moxley and his commentary?
It was great to hear. It's refreshing in such a strange way.
He has no control over what comes out of his mouth at times. And at times, it was just a Jon Moxley podcast. during 3 separate matches. There was a match on the pre-show. He's going, "Yeah, we get." He's like, what was he saying on the pre-show that he said he got fined? I don't know if that was a real line or I mean, it was on YouTube. I think they just get fined in AEW when they break the rules. Although we covered what those quote-unquote new AEW rules were.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many of them be broken. I've seen Jungle Boy slap a drink out of somebody's hand since those rules were enacted. I've seen people go diving into the fans. I've seen quite a bit of stuff that seems against the rules. And I don't just mean the rules that you have to get approval for. I mean just things that are not allowed, i.e. a chair shot to the head, which we might get to.
Mm-hmm.
But yes. What were we even talking about? Oh, Jon Moxley breaking the rules.
Yes.
Jon Moxley swearing up a storm, getting fined, allegedly, on commentary. That commentary team at WrestleDream was part of my WrestleDream because, I mean, there was Nigel, there was Excalibur, there was Tony Schiavone, there was Taz, there was Jim Ross, and even Jon Moxley was there. Now, Moxley was out there for the Claudio versus Josh Barnett match, which happened on the pre-show. That's how great this card was. You had a match between Claudio Castagnoli and Josh Barnett, the War Master, take place on the pre-show with Jon Moxley on commentary.
I mean, yeah, that's unbelievable.
It was just unbelievable in general to see Josh Barnett in AEW. It's like, I had to go back and check. This was his first AEW match, I think.
Oh, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is like a legend. He's all over the wrestling world. Granted, he doesn't have the most active schedule, but you would think we would have seen him already. And then they just throw him in there on a pre-show because he wants to pay tribute to, his mentor, Inoki-san, which he did.
That's very nice, yeah. Very good.
So, Moxley, though, and then he's back out for Wheeler Yuta versus Ricky Starks. He's like saying, like, "Fuck that guy!" Just incredible stuff from Jon Moxley that you could not write. No writer you cannot script this. This is unscripted violence and unscripted commentary from Jon Moxley.
I also like the idea of him coming out for his fellow Combat Club member matches. I think that's a great little thing to it too.
I think he was just out there because he recently had that concussion, right?
Well, yeah.
In the match with Rey Fenix.
It's a good way to get him involved still and have him do this like wild stuff.
Yeah, the only thing they were missing was just Joe Rogan interviewing Moxley in the ring right after getting concussed.
Oh my God. Jeez. Ugh.
But yes, Ricky Starks defeated Wheeler Yuta. We had FTR beating Aussie Open in a very good match. And then, like I said, the main event, Christian Cage versus Darby Allin, ended with the debut of one Sexton Hardcastle in All Elite Wrestling. So, overall, great show, WrestleDream. Had to carve out some time on the podcast to discuss that one. And yeah, let's keep going. So, this is a story from last week, but we learned last week that Jade Cargill has signed officially with WWE. She's at the Performance Center now. We know that she's going to be on the Raw brand, going straight to Raw, bypassing NXT, presumably. But yeah, what did you think of the way WWE handled the signing of Jade Cargill?
I mean, right now, it's pretty good. They've treated her like a big deal. And if you treat someone like a big deal before they come in, they'll be perceived as a big deal. And that's the only thing I think people worry about, at least I worry about, when people go to WWE from somewhere else, even from NXT going up to the main roster. So far, I think it's been good. We'll see where they go from here. I don't know. I have faith in Triple H. Hopefully he's still pulling the strings to keep her being like a big deal. That's all that we really need.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, just in general, someone like Jade Cargill has just this persona and the look and the star power that is a little bit better suited for WWE than AEW. I don't think that's unfair to say. And also, they might be better equipped to handle someone like Jade, who didn't exactly come from the indie wrestling scene, right?
Great point, yeah.
So they have the Performance Center, they have the team, they have the trainers, they have all the tools to get her in-ring skills, up a few notches at least. And then, yeah, they have the platform and the resources in WWE to really shine the correct type of spotlight on Jade Cargill.
I mean, if look at Tiffany Stratton coming from a non-wrestling background, and she's a superstar. She came so far in a year, and Jade Cargill's already been in AEW wrestling. So I mean, yeah, you're exactly right. They have the tools, they know what to do, and Jade Cargill has the charisma and the star power to do it. So it should be a match made in heaven. We'll see.
Yeah, I think it will be great. I think there's a lot of matchups that I would love to see Jade Cargill in. You know, I'm just thinking in my head, Jade Cargill versus Charlotte Flair.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Jade Cargill versus Roxanne Perez. Jade Cargill versus, like you said, Tiffany Stratton versus Asuka. Yeah, I think it's a great signing. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think there's always weirdness in wrestling. I think people should just remember that it was just a few weeks ago that Jade Cargill was saying AEW is my home. I'm not going anywhere. And then she signs with WWE and she's saying this was always the plan. It's like I'm sure it was always the plan. It's a very logical plan, but just for the fans listening, you just have to take what your favorite wrestlers say with a grain of salt sometimes.
Yeah, and people do get so mad about stuff like that. I'm like, sometimes, like you said at the beginning of the show, sometimes we gotta take a step back, just remember that we're here to enjoy this, and it's okay. Let's have fun.
Yeah, wrestling is supposed to be fun, right?
Exactly. Yes.
So that's why I watch it. So that way, when I see Zack Sabre Jr.'s leg turn 5 different angles on a dragon screw, it's like, ooh!
I can't believe that he is okay.
That was just crazy. But
I mean, that's why wrestling is crazy, isn't it? That happens. He's presumably okay. Adam Cole just jumps off an apron, the runway, and he's breaks his ankle in three ways. It's crazy.
Yeah, and we were discussing whether or not that was fake or not. It's clearly real. I mean, or they're tricking me, which I'm okay with being tricked, generally speaking. Yeah, sure. I love getting tricked. I love it. It's my favorite thing, getting worked.
It's Halloween season. All right, trick.
Yeah.
Your tree.
But the photo I saw of is I think Britt Baker tweeted
it
out.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty. Just for him to still be out there, just, raising MJF's hand at Grand Slam and stuff last month with that injury was.
Oh, yeah. Even taking he took a little bit of a hit and backed up into the rope. Very impressive with that ankle like that. Oh.
Probably didn't do his ankle any favors, though.
Touche.
But yeah, so we got Jade Cargill going to WWE. Edge, Adam Copeland is going to AEW. So both companies are making moves, and I think there's going to be some more moves in the future, for sure. Not ready to make a top 5 prediction list here on who's going to jump ship, but I think it's logical and it's normal, because at this stage of AEW, there's going to be some talent. For one, there's already a list of talent that WWE basically wants, right? And it's not just your usual the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, which, when AEW was first starting, WWE was obviously trying to get those guys. But, I mean, there's guys like Ricky Starks, Wardlow, others that would flourish in WWE, and they're definitely on their radar. So it's, if you're going to get all upset when your favorite company loses a wrestler to the other company, you're going to be pretty upset.
Yeah, I mean, I always think maybe in the 70s when you could only watch wrestling in a region, and then someone leaves the region, you're like, oh no, I'll never see them again. We literally can just watch both shows, everybody. It's okay.
Yeah, it's just Black Saturday, Vince McMahon on the screen.
Yeah, no, it's not like that.
Yeah, that's what people are acting like. It's like they turned on their wrestling show and it was freaking Black Saturday. Vince McMahon, what? What happened?
Who's this yank?
Do we have the dial turned to the right station?
It's like, God.
Do we have the weather vane outside and the antennas turned due north like we're supposed to? Because God damn it, I don't know who this Yankee is up here on my television from New York. But yeah, so I thought WWE did a great job of handling Jade Cargill signing as well. They heavily promoted it. They made it a big deal. And yeah, I think it's a great on-ramp for whatever their plans are for her, which I think we're going to see sooner than, we have with some other people. I think she's going to be on TV. Yeah. I think she's going to be on TV soon.
Absolutely, I think so too.
So, yeah, do you want to talk about the war now?
Oh, let's do it.
I don't think I have the just reminds me of the Monday Night Raw, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. I was actually thinking we were about to watch a Perry Saturn match, but
oh, yeah. No, that reminded me of the old Raw intro when they're all in the warehouse, just like beating each other up to the music.
the best intro. That's the one.
Oh, for sure. But yes, the war is back on, folks. The war really never ended, and we'll be the first to let you know if it ever does. But this coming Tuesday, AEW is going to have their episode of Dynamite air on Tuesday as opposed to Wednesday because of some of those old sports on TBS. And that goes head-to-head with NXT, so neither side is taking this lightly because any chance for people online to compare these two promotions, they're going to do it. And the companies themselves don't want to come out on the losing end of any bad ratings wars. So this Tuesday, we are getting the first match in AEW from Adam Copeland when he takes on Luchasaurus. We are also getting Swerve Strickland versus Bryan Danielson.
Oh, man.
I'm looking up the card right now. Swerve Strickland versus Bryan Danielson. So this is the number one contender match for the TNT title. Very weird. Excuse me, very weird, because I don't really think either guy should be losing, and I don't really think either guy should be winning and then challenging for the TNT title. But I digress. Jay White versus Adam Hangman Page. Copeland, Luchasaurus, like I said. Ray Phoenix defending the International Championship against Moxley in a rematch. Quick comeback for Moxley after that concussion.
Yeah.
Powerhouse Hobbs, the newest member of the Don Callis family. Powerhouse Hobbs is part of the family now. He's taking on Chris Jericho, my friend from 30 years ago in Winnipeg. Now I'm friends with Powerhouse Hobbs. There's nothing you can do about it, Jericho. Ha ha ha. Powerhouse Hobbs, he's better than Ricky Dozan.
Oh, God.
He's better than Onoki.
That's
better than Sakaguchi. Better than Maeda. Better than Greg Gagne. Better than Luchasaurus. We also have Saraya taking on Hikaru Shida. That Don Callis impression is getting razor sharp, I must say.
It's very good. I love it.
Saraya defending the title against Hikaru Shida. So this is the Dynamite card. Like I said, the big draw here is Adam Copeland making his wrestling debut, right? In general, when you're on an off night from your normal weekly time slot, I feel like you could just do you want something like this anyway. You want to have a big match to tell people, tune in Tuesday instead of Wednesday so you don't miss something like Adam Copeland or another big match. Then we have NXT, which we learned we're getting. So Carmelo Hayes, his friend John Cena, must be friends from New England.
I think, yeah.
Is coming to corner him in his match against Braun Breaker, who his friend Paul Heyman is going to be in his corner. We're also getting Asuka on NXT taking on Roxanne Perez, which that is the match that would sway me to watch NXT live of all these. And then we're also getting Cody Rhodes coming down to NXT, coming down to developmental, not because his girlfriend wrestles there, but to make a major announcement. What do you think the announcement's going to be?
I mean, I have no clue.
Cody on NXT. Is he making a brand switch? Is he getting drafted to Tuesdays?
I doubt that, but I mean, it's great that this is happening. I'm definitely going to watch both, but I think you got to watch the in-ring stuff on Dynamite. It sounds very impressive. So all those matches sound great. So I think I'm going to go with that live. See what Cody has to say afterwards.
Yeah, I think as these shows go head-to-head, we're going to have to establish what shows we're watching live versus DVRing, because we want to honestly say what cards or what shows make us want to watch live. You know, so for example, I actually did sit through an NXT premium live event, and in the past, I wouldn't really have called these live events premium in the NXT 2.0 era for sure.
Yeah.
But now we're back in business, folks. NXT, he's running the show. His name is Shawn Michaels, and he's got a top-tier television show here. We were talking about Collision back in the day. Is that the best wrestling show? Now is HBK NXT the best wrestling show? And I don't actually think so, but it's a lot better under Shawn Michaels.
Oh, it's getting close. I think it still has those elements of like the rookies, you know, like the people who don't really, the developmental, it's still there. They're always going to have that now, I think. But then you get on to like your Carmelo Hayes's and your Tiffany Stratton's against Becky Lynch kind of stuff, you know? So it's going to be great. I like the balance. So it's never really going to be on the Collision's level, I don't think, but it's definitely worth watching now.
Well, I watched NXT No Mercy on Saturday night, and I DVR'd Collision. So I just chose NXT that night. I can't say it'll be every single time there's a Saturday event. But generally speaking, you know, if it's SummerSlam against Collision, I'm probably going to watch SummerSlam, something like that.
Yeah.
Or a Saturday WWE event. But, I mean, AEW has the opportunity here to, you know, maybe you put a crazy match on some of these cards to try to draw some viewers, you know. But like we were talking about, I think, before the show started, if AEW just super stacks up these cards, they run the risk that if they don't do a monster rating, they're kind of exposing themselves in a way. Like if they booked MJF versus Kenny Omega for the world title and FTR versus Edge and Christian and, you know, Chris Jericho versus Sting, and if they just did some hilarious supercard and then they didn't draw, you know, 1.5 million, some crazy number, then they're kind of exposing where their ceiling is, and nobody really wants to do that. So I think Edge is a big draw, so we'll see. Ultimately, with John Cena on NXT, if I had to pick who's going to kind of win the war here, I think it's going to be NXT, because I think at this point they lost, right? They lost a lot of those Wednesday night wars. I think they've learned from it. So they're coming back to, this is whatever round you consider this is the rematch. They're coming prepared, you know. They know for one, we can't do it with the NXT roster, and two, we can't just slapdash people from the main roster, i.e., a Baron Corbin, a Dolph Ziggler, right?
Yeah.
Which obviously Dolph Ziggler is no more, but they know you get someone like Becky Lynch on NXT, you're gonna move some viewer numbers, right? Because she has. Dominic Mysterio, same thing. The right people can take that show up several, you know, notches of viewers. And in general, Dom Toretto's younger brother is going to move some numbers.
Oh, absolutely.
Jacob.
Yeah, that's definitely Jacob. Yeah, they definitely. I just watched Fast 10 last week. He'll definitely bring eyes to TV, because I know people follow Cena. I've been talking to some younger people who watch wrestling, and they're all, you know, they're more the WWE fans, you know, these like teenagers and stuff, and they'll follow John Cena, they'll follow Roman Reigns. So yeah, the right people will bring eyes to the show. So I do think NXT is going to do better, but who knows what show's going to be better, actually. Like I said, it looks like Dynamite, but I mean, it'll be fun to watch both, you know. Like we said, we'll just DVR one and watch the other.
Yeah. So like I said, we're going to try to be honest with what we're watching live versus what we're watching on a tape delay. So probably be watching Dynamite on the Tuesday here. But yeah, so we were talking about John Cena. Before we get out of here, do you want to talk a little bit about John Cena and his return run so far?
Yeah.
John Cena has been back on WWE television. The Rock has been back on WWE television even. And John Cena is just out here shaking hands with every single babyface on the roster. You know? And I appreciate the fact that he is teaming up with LA Knight. If you think about it, whenever these guys go over to AEW and they say they're going to help out the younger generation and they want to wrestle all these younger guys and help put over the next generation, John Cena is kind of, in their own way, doing that in WWE, right?
Absolutely,
He's at least given the rub to people like LA Knight who, you know, could benefit from it. Did you see that Kevin Nash clip I sent you?
Oh, yes. Come on.
From Botchamania, where he's like, I don't know this guy, LA Knight. I don't know the guy. And he texts me, he says, I got an idea for a character. It's called the Scorpion King. He's like, this is bullshit. I watched that final, like, 2 seconds of Kevin Nash just looking into the camera, like, flabbergasted. Like, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. Like, 50 times. And each time I laughed louder than the previous time.
I mean, that's classic Nash right there.
This is like he's just flabbergasted that somebody would screw with him. You know? This is the guy that went on WCW Thunder and said that he secured himself a spot on the booking committee and he booked himself to be on the commentary team.
Let's not talk about that stuff. It makes me sad.
But yeah, so LA Knight texting Big Kev saying, hey, I know you don't know me, but I've got an idea for a character. It's called the Scorpion King. It's a good idea.
Put butts in seats.
All right, so John Cena, he's back in WWE. He's only here until what? Couple more weeks at this point. Is he going to be here till Survivor Series? Probably not.
I think it's 3 more weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. So who knows when we'll see.
Listen, the writer's strike is over. He has to go back to his real love, Hollywood.
Well, the writer's strike is over, but the Screen Actors Guild, I believe, they are still on strike. So I don't think in general, Hollywood is kind of not going to be, getting back moving until I think the Actors Guild at least gets something worked out. So, that's probably why we're seeing some of the biggest stars in Hollywood show up on WWE television.
I know.
Right? Because WWE is not exactly a union shop, nor is AEW, nor is any wrestling show.
Yeah. I mean, just to talk about Cena, I do like what he's doing so far. All smiles, all handshakes, and being in tag team matches with LA Knight, putting him over, even at WrestleMania when Austin Theory beat him. That's all you can ask for a guy of his stature. Like, he's not going to get hurt by losing. He's one of the greatest of all time, and he's a Hollywood superstar. He's fine.
Like I said, he's one of the greatest of all time. Have you not been watching the product? They've been telling you. He's the greatest of all time.
All right. I misspoke. He's the greatest of all time. No questions. No one's better.
Not Ric Flair.
No.
Not Shawn Michaels.
Sucks.
Not Eddie Guerrero.
No.
Not Steve Austin.
Not even close.
Not Dwayne Johnson.
Who's that?
Not Kenny Omega. Not Bryan Danielson.
Never heard of him.
Not the Macho Man.
Oh. Disgusting.
The greatest of all time. He's better than Onoki.
He used to wear a lock around his neck.
He used to wear a padlock, and he used to have 2 knuckle things on. He used to have things on his knuckles that said "Word Life." He had a rap album.
Greatest of all time.
And it was the greatest rap album of all time, if you ask Michael Cole. And lastly,
no one has ever asked him, though.
Lastly, Chris, before we get out of here, speaking of Michael Cole used some choice words recently when addressing one Seth Rollins in the ring. And might he have been hinting at a WWE return of one Richard Rabies, CM Punk himself?
I'm getting all worked up on this. Like, emphasis on work. I think it's happening. I just think it's happening. Eventually, it's happening.
So Punk does commentary at Cage Fury Fighting Championships, and right after, he said he's free for the next 2 months. I'm free for the next 2 months. So it could have just been some type of, contractual, like, I can't do anything for the next 2 months, or it could have been, I'm going somewhere in 2 months, right? Survivor Series is going to be in Chicago.
I mean, yeah, it sets it up so perfectly.
So, yeah, you got Punk hinting, Michael Cole hinting. Both of these guys are notorious for this stuff, though. Both Punk and Michael Cole do this all the time, and no one notices that they do this all the time. And Michael Cole drops all these hints and this stuff. You would think Michael Cole's going to get Lucha Underground started up again, the way he talks sometimes.
All right, that's true.
He's just trying to get points with the fans here. But it seems as though they are definitely trying to make you think that, right?
Oh yeah, they're definitely doing that.
But whether or not we will see, I do think it's totally possible, though. I think that the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and that logic applies here. I think that obviously WWE has a track record of sort of no matter what happened, time heals all wounds. Bret Hart, the Montreal Screwjob, the Ultimate Warrior, right? All these guys have come back ultimately. Bruno, Sammartino.
Oh yeah, I mean, and Triple H is a lot different than the way Vince ran things, at least in the booking stance. But I do think he learned one thing from Vince. It's like, first of all, if you can make money, it's fine. But also, if you come back, if you want to come back, you want to come crawling back to WWE, I knew you'd come back. Come back in, pal. They don't care.
Well, that's sort of the Vince mentality is like he's like getting a trophy out of it, right? Like, I got another one to come back to me, groveling for money.
Yeah.
But Vince is, I mean, he's in charge, you know, but it is a new day in WWE. Yes, it is. Under the new company TKO, right? So the first thing you have is the ability for just other folks, other people to be involved in the negotiation. Like, you don't have to just go through Paul and Vince at this point. You know, like the UFC used to do this all the time, where Dana White would negotiate some deals, Lorenzo Fertitta would negotiate some other ones, right? You know, if Dana White ever had beef with a fighter, he'd go, he's going to have to talk to Lorenzo. You know, like, I'm not dealing with him.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean they couldn't do business. It's just you have to do your business with Lorenzo. I'm not talking to you. So there's that element of it, because now you have Nick Khan, who, I mean, who can't this guy negotiate a deal with?
True.
Right? So there's that. But Nick Khan did also say, when he was asked, I don't know if it was by Bill Simmons or it was when they were doing the media rounds for the TKO merger, he did say, like, we have nothing but respect for Phil, you know, and we wish him the best. So it was kind of like saying, we're not interested, but, you know, we're not going to close the door. But then now, as things heat up, it becomes a little bit more, seems possible. But it also seems just as likely that one side or the other could just be like, no.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, that's probably more likely what's happening. But I mean, I know we kind of like in jest talk about CM Punk on the show before, getting called one Bill Phil. But like, if someone's talking to David Zaslav, you know, from TKO, and they're like, this guy did bring me this money, they might be like, screw it, bring him in over here.
Well, I think that that's also part of this merger thing, is there's a lot more high-level executives who have some level of a say in the matter, so they could kind of say, like, you guys figure it out, but if this guy moves numbers, get him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, well, who knows? It's interesting.
You know, it's the CM Punk hand is a very interesting hand to play, right? It's like sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Yeah.
So, but I guess last question for you, Chris. Would CM Punk need WWE more than WWE would need CM Punk?
Oh, man. Yes. But I don't think that CM Punk is like desperately grasping for something and WWE's his last hope. But I do think in that scenario, I think that he needs them more than they need him.
I would say so as well, because WWE has a whole new area that they can explore now with the merger, with TKO, with celebrities that are involved on the UFC side of things who can come over, and even if they don't wrestle, just to come over onto the show. Yeah. They've already had this influx of this whole celebrity athlete sort of genre with people like Logan Paul and Pat McAfee and all of these viral people. You know, wouldn't be surprised if we saw Dave Portnoy eating a cheese pizza on WWE television during the cheese pizza cage match.
Yeah, right.
Coming up, if they ever do that. But just anybody who's viral now, i.e. WWE is you know, available, that they could get them on their show. So I think that WWE has a lot more options, especially when you think about it as, if you take the WWE off the table for CM Punk, at that point you're looking at a CM Punk Impact run or a CM Punk New Japan run, which is just not the same thing as CM Punk returning to WWE, right?
No.
So I do think, yes, Punk needs WWE more than they need him, but at the same time, I think a deal can be made by the two parties at this point. So we'll see if that happens, and we'll see if he gets the the grand return to WWE, like so many others have. But yeah, I guess that about does it for this episode of Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman. We took some time off. We are back now. We are happy to be here. Thank you for hitting that play button. Thank you for sticking with us till the end. Perhaps some ratings in the Tuesday Night War coming up quick on us here. But yeah, that about does it for this episode. What does this button do?
Whoa, yes. Whoa, yes.
What's a baby face? You underestimate my power. What's a baby face? Won't open. Not this one. Not this one. None of them open. He may need attention.
Watch Wrestling with Mike Wellman.
There is no honor among thieves in the first place.